So all I'm doing is taking a small brush, dipping it into the lacquer, and then just putting a small drop in each of the depressions. Lacquer has a distinct property of melting into the old layers because the solvent in this is lacquer thinner, which will melt the existing layers of lacquer, which is the reason this technique works so well. Now, if this piece hadn't been finished with lacquer, maybe it was shellac or polyurethane or something, this really, I don't think, would work too well. Everything I have is from the era of lacquer. Everything from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, everything was done with lacquer, so there's really no problem there. If you're not sure, do a little search online and you'll find some tips on how to determine what type of finish you've got on your piece. I finished a couple rounds of filling in the dings and nicks with lacquer. I've sanded it down and there's still some depressions left here and here. So I'm going to do another round or two and then hopefully that'll be it. And I can move on to coating the whole table with some lacquer. I finally have all the dings filled in and level to the rest of the surface of the table. I still have a little bit of sanding to do, and then I'm going to clean up all the dust with a microcloth soaked in a little bit of odorless mineral spirits. Once that dries, I'm going to give the whole thing a couple coats of lacquer sanding sealer. Very similar to the final gloss lacquer, but this dries pretty quick and it's especially nice for binding to the wood, and as it says, easy to sand. I'm going to put it on with a foam brush. I bought a 9-pack because that was the most economical way to go. When you buy foam brushes, pay attention, because although this large 4-inch size is nice, it will not fit in the can. So unless you're going to pour the contents of this can into a bucket or something, you're not going to be able to use this brush. So I go with this size, which just fits. This is a 3-inch size. Smaller sizes are nice for doing trim on radios and such. When you put this down, if you're going to be doing it indoors like I am, or if you care at all about your floors, put down a drop cloth. I bought a 9-pack. These are 9 by 11 feet, so pretty big. Plastic. I think I paid like $2 for 9 of these at local home improvement center, so no excuse not to protect your floors. Or if you can, whatever you're working on, if you can get it outside or in a ventilated area or somewhere you don't care about, the floors or the walls or anything, go ahead and spray. After a couple coats of the sanding lacquer, it's looking pretty good. And I suppose some might stop at this point. In fact, I know some people would, because I've picked up some stuff that's been rather crudely refinished that I'll have to go over again someday. Because although this may look okay, if you run your hand over it, it's obvious that it's not so smooth. There's brush marks in this, and more importantly, this is just the sanding lacquer. It's not the finish lacquer, which is somewhat different chemically. This stuff is a lot tougher. It'll stand up to minor dings, scratches, water, fingerprints, and so on a lot better. This stuff is meant to seal the wood and to be sanded down and leave you a smooth finish. So that's what's next up, sanding. First of all, let this set up for a bit longer. If you sand lacquer when it's not fully cured, it'll gum up your sandpaper pretty quickly. Now, for sanding, at this stage, to get things really as smooth and flat as possible, you want to use a good sanding block that's nice and hard, or I should say rigid and flat, unlike something like this, which is a sponge, essentially. I use this to do the rounded edges, but for the main body, I'll be using this with some good quality sandpaper. I like to use Norton. It seems to last a lot longer and not clog up so quickly. So I think that's going to be it for tonight. I'll let this cure up and pick up on it tomorrow.